Welcome to Biggest Spoilars, the destination for exclusive spoilers, latest updates.
General Hospital spoilers indicate that Jen Sidwell could have PCU professor Henry Hank Dalton boggled, and there's a good chance that Laura Collins will face the impacts for this. The week of November 17, 21 will be both dramatic and chaotic. With so numerous moving pieces within several bends that are connected, it's hard not to suppose that Dalton's days are numbered in the land of Port Charles. Plus, it's November sweeps, and the ABC cleaner loves to give shocking moments, like a murder. In addition, Dalton is an expendable character, so there's a good chance that he'll be a goner by the time the weekend hits. Dalton is raging at the mouth for Rocco Falconeri to pay for breaking into his lab. The teen was set to get a poke on the wrist, but the PCU professor presented substantiation that Rocco ransacked his lab to ensure he'd get a stricter penalty, despite Sidwell's warning to back off. During the Friday, November 14 occasion, when this new substantiation popped up, Laura Collins knew right down that her grandson was being framed, and she was outraged. GH trials for Monday, November 17, indicate that Laura will lash out at Dalton, while press and media are there, flashing their cameras to get every word she says on the record. There's a fierce mayoral election crusade passing in PC right now, as Laura hopes to get re-elected. Nipping at her heels is Slimeball Megacity Councilman Ezra Boyle, who's likely celebrating all this reproach in the mayor's life. Laura went from a huge lead in the crusade to a veritably narrow periphery, so one further contestation could cock her over, and she could lose her part as Port Charles mayor. Fast forward to the week of November 17, and Sidwell will issue a warning to someone that's betrayed him. Sidwell ain't one to mess around, and as Dalton has not only lagged with his exploration for Caesar Faison's final design but was also resistant to Britt Westbourne taking the lead, he's officially come a nuisance in Sidwell's side. Framing Rocco will be the tip of the icicle, as Sidwell instructed Dalton to leave it alone, so Sidwell will probably do down with him. Still, as Laura is also a problem for Sidwell, who desperately wants to hitch Sonny Corinthos's peers and quarter, he may come up with a plan to kill two catcalls with one gravestone. Sidwell would love nothing further than to have Ezra as the little city's mayor, as the councillor is on his payroll. Laura is slated to intimately lash out at Dalton, which will produce a perfect storm for the mayor to get boggled out of her part, while also allowing Sidwell to exclude a liability within his operation, Dalton. General Hospital's exercise for the week of November 17, 21 shows Laura screaming in horror with auto keys in hand. It's dark out, so it's darkness, and it appears that she'll probably hit Commodity, get out of the auto, and discover Commodity, or someone, she's run over. The election takes place midweek, so this offers Sidwell a unique occasion to get relief of Dalton, while cascading it as mega hit and run on Laura's part. This script could be the veritably situation that eventually tips the scales in Ezra's favor and costs Laura the election. Sidwell is a master manipulator, so he could set Commodity up where Laura hits an formerly deceased Dalton, where it seems like she's the bone. Who caused the PCU professor's demise? General Hospital spoilers allude that Ezra winning the election will score a major point for #Team Sidwell, as the baddies of the little city continue to try and inflict annihilation for the icons, so suckers will need to stay fused to their defenses to see what happens coming within this storyline. On the coming GH, Danny and Charlotte turn themselves in, Sidwell plots a endless result, and fear rises as Port Charles braces for the coming ruinous twist. General Hospital spoilers are in for Tuesday, November 18, 2025. In Hereafter's occasion, suckers can anticipate Jen Sidwell to get relief of a problem. Meanwhile, Danny Morgan and Charlotte Cassadine turn themselves in. Keep reading and let's talk about what's coming up in the ABC cleaner pieces. 3 must-see General Hospital moments Tuesday, November 17. 1. Truth comes crashing down, Danny and Charlotte rendition, hoping to clear Rocco, but the damage from Dalton's doctored substantiation may formerly be insolvable to reverse. 2. A nipping plan emerges. Sidwell makes it clear that barring one man could make all their problems vanish, intimating that Dalton may not survive his rearmost scheme. 3. Pressures boil across Port Charles, Laura explodes over Rocco's fate, Sonny urges her to prepare for the worst, Dante confides in Lulu, and Jason steps up with an emotional reason, and a warning. On the next General Hospital, let's launch off with Danny and Charlotte. Rocco Falconeri took the blame for the lab break heft, assuming the court would go readily on him. Still, Professor Henry Hank Dalton gave doctored prints to Justine Turner. The fact that the police didn't search the lab and take prints for themselves is suspicious enough. Read this. Check out what happened on last occasion of GH Still. Now we've Dalton staring as he gloats to Laura Collins. I do'n't condemn her for smacking him, to be honest. Back to Charlotte and Danny, they turn themselves into the police. Still, I've a bad feeling that Rocco gets lost in the system or commodity. Another possibility is that despite turning themselves in, perhaps it's formally too late. Sonny Corinthos' wisdom. As for Laura, she'll be furious over what's happened to Rocco. Indeed, though there isn't much she can do, she does reconnect with Sonny Corinthos. The mob master warns the mayor to hope for the stylish but be prepared for the worst. Jen Sidwell's killer solution. General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, November 18th reveal that Sidwell wasn't pleased with Marco Rios' report about Rocco's arraignment. We also have Britt Westbourne, who wants to help Rocco too. Britt issues an claim, which might be to Sidwell. It's teased in an exercise clip that Sidwell says if he goes down, also so do their problems. It sounds like he's talking about Dalton. Dante Falconeri and Lulu Spencer bond. Dante Falconeri will open up to Lulu Spencer. Formerly again, Dante was too hard on Giovanni Gio Palmieri. A exercise clip also shows Dante telling Lulu that Harrison Chase says Rocco did this to himself. What differently to anticipate? As for what differently to anticipate, Jason Morgan offers an reason. Still, he'll want to help Rocco and clear his name. So, I could see him working with Sonny on this. Away, Carly Spencer questions Jack Brennan. Also, Jason tells Britt that he'll do anything, but not that. Which plot are you looking forward to seeing the most? Partake your studies in the comment section below. Be sure to check back with Celebrating the Detergents for all the rearmost General Hospital spoilers, news, rumors, appearances, and goings and updates. In the treacherous, intrigue-laden world of Port Charles, the line between justice and vengeance is often blurred, and the coming days promise to test the mettle of its most prominent citizens. The week of November 17th to 21st is shaping up to be a crucible of chaos, a dramatic convergence of political ambition, familial loyalty, and cold-blooded corporate machinations. At the center of the impending maelstrom is a single, volatile target, PCU Professor Henry Hank Dalton. Once a mere academic obstacle, Dalton has rapidly transformed himself into the most expendable pawn on a very dangerous chessboard, and his every move is bringing him closer to a checkmate from which there is no return. The catalyst for this explosive situation was a teenager's misguided attempt at heroism. Rocco Falconeri's break-in at Dalton's lab, initially perceived as a youthful transgression warranting little more than a stern warning, has metastasized into a full-blown legal nightmare. Dalton, seething with a vindictive rage that transcends professional concern, has deliberately escalated the situation. In a stunning act of manipulation, he presented fabricated evidence to the authorities, grotesquely exaggerating the extent of the damage to ensure Rocco would face the harshest possible penalties. This was a direct and brazen act of retaliation, executed with a smug arrogance that did not go unnoticed. Most notably, it did not go unnoticed by Laura Collins, Port Charles's mayor and Rocco's fiercely protective grandmother. From the moment this so-called new evidence surfaced during the Friday, November 14th episode, Laura's political instincts and grandmotherly intuition screamed in unison: her grandson was being framed. Her outrage was a palpable force, a quiet storm brewing behind her typically composed and diplomatic demeanor. She saw through Dalton's charade instantly, recognizing the move for what it was, a personal and malicious attack on her family. The previews for Monday, November 17th, promise that this quiet storm will break with tremendous force. Laura is slated to confront Dalton publicly, with the press and media present, their cameras flashing, eagerly capturing every scathing word. She will lash out, her accusations sharp and unequivocal, delivered on the record for the entire city to witness. This moment, while cathartic for a grandmother defending her own, is a catastrophic political miscalculation. Port Charles is in the throes of a fiercely contested mayoral election, and Laura's opponent, the slimy and opportunistic city councilman Ezra Boyle, is nipping at her heels. Once holding a commanding lead, Laura has seen her advantage evaporate into a narrow margin, making her dangerously vulnerable. A public, emotionally charged outburst against a respected, on the surface, PCU professor is precisely the kind of controversy that Ezra and his shadowy benefactors can exploit to paint Laura as unstable, volatile, and unfit for office. The puppeteer's patience wears thin, Jen Sidwell's calculated wrath. However, the political fallout from Laura's anger is merely one facet of a much darker and more complex gem. The true threat emanates from the shadowy figure of Jen Sidwell, a corporate predator whose tendrils have ensnared much of the city's underbelly. From Sidwell's perspective, Henry Dalton has evolved from a useful asset into a profound liability. His delays and resistance on Caesar Faison's final project were already marks against him, demonstrating a lack of commitment and obedience. But Dalton's decision to frame Rocco Falconeri against Sidwell's explicit instructions to back off was an act of outright insubordination. It was a move that drew unnecessary heat and attention to their operations, attention that a man like Sidwell cannot afford. Sidwell is not a man who issues second warnings. Previews for the week indicate he will deliver a stark message to someone who has betrayed him, and all signs point directly at Dalton. In the ruthless calculus of Sidwell's world, a disloyal, slow-moving academic who creates his own problems is not just useless, he is a threat that must be neutralized. A preview clip chillingly captures Sidwell's cold logic: if he goes away, then so do their problems. The implication is as clear as it is terrifying: Dalton's days are numbered. This presents Sidwell with a unique and diabolical opportunity. He has two significant problems: a disobedient professor and a mayor who stands in the way of his ultimate goal, acquiring Sonny Corinthos's coveted Piers and Warehouse district. With Councilman Ezra Boyle already on his payroll, installing a puppet mayor would make that acquisition a simple formality. Sidwell, a master manipulator, is undoubtedly concocting a plan to kill both of these problematic birds with one well-aimed stone. Laura's public meltdown, scheduled for Monday, creates the perfect storm. What if, in the midst of this scandal, Professor Dalton were to meet a tragic end? And what if the evidence were to point directly at a furious, politically vulnerable Mayor Collins? A nighttime horror, the preview that hints at a frame-up. The General Hospital preview for the week of November 17th to 21st offers a haunting and suggestive visual that seems to confirm this terrifying theory. It shows Laura Collins, her face a mask of pure horror, screeching in shock with car keys clutched in her hand. The scene is dark, indicating it is nighttime. The implication is that she has either hit something or someone with her car. The natural assumption would be a tragic accident, but in Port Charles, coincidence is a rare commodity. This scenario offers Sidwell the perfect alibi and the ultimate weapon against Laura. The election is set to take place midweek. Imagine the headlines: enraged Mayor Collins, after publicly threatening professor, involved in fatal hit-and-run. It's a narrative that writes itself. Sidwell could easily orchestrate a situation where an already deceased Dalton is placed in the path of Laura's car, making it appear she was the one who caused his demise in a fit of vengeful rage. This single, devastating event would be the final nail in the coffin of her political career, almost certainly handing the election to Ezra Boyle and, by extension, to Jen Sidwell. The repercussions would be immediate and severe, costing Laura not just her career but potentially her freedom. Acts of desperation and solidarity, the family fights back. While the storm clouds gather around Laura and Dalton, the Falconeri family is not sitting idly by. The previews for Tuesday, November 18th, reveal a dramatic and heartfelt act of solidarity from Rocco's cousins, Danny Morgan and Charlotte Cassadine. Consumed by guilt and a desperate need to see justice served, they turn themselves into the police, hoping their confessions will clear Rocco's name. This is a noble and courageous act, but it is fraught with peril. The legal system, now armed with Dalton's doctored evidence, is a labyrinth from which it is difficult to escape. There is a palpable fear that their confession may be too little, too late. Rocco could become lost in the unforgiving gears of the justice system, his fate sealed by fabricated photos and the word of a, for now, respected professor. The damage from Dalton's lies may already be irreversible, leaving Danny and Charlotte's brave sacrifice potentially in vain. This familial crisis also brings other key players into the fray. Dante Falconeri, Rocco's father, is grappling with a maelstrom of emotions, anger, fear, and helplessness. He turns to Lulu Spencer for support, confiding in her that even Harrison Chase has taken a harsh view, stating that Rocco did this to himself. This perspective, while difficult to hear, highlights the precariousness of Rocco's situation from all angles. Meanwhile, Laura finds an unexpected source of counsel in Sonny Corinthos. The mob boss, no stranger to navigating impossible situations, offers her some hard-earned wisdom, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. It is a sobering warning that Laura must now take to heart, as the worst seems to be unfolding right before her eyes. Sonny's involvement is sure to deepen, as his own interests are directly threatened by Sidwell's ambitions. Adding another layer to the complex web of alliances is Jason Morgan. In a moment of raw honesty, he offers a profound apology, the specifics of which are yet to be revealed. But Jason is a man of action, and his remorse will undoubtedly be followed by a pledge to help. He tells Britt Westbourne that he will do anything to clear Rocco's name, but pointedly adds, "but not that." This cryptic refusal hints at a looming moral dilemma or a dangerous proposition that even Jason Morgan will not entertain. Britt herself, demonstrating a conscience that often surfaces in times of crisis, is prepared to issue an ultimatum, likely to Sidwell, in an effort to intervene on Rocco's behalf. The gathering storm in other corners of Port Charles. The chaos surrounding the Falconeri family does not exist in a vacuum. Other storylines are simmering, ready to boil over. Carly Spencer, ever the shrewd businesswoman and concerned friend, is seen questioning Jack Brennan. Her interactions with the enigmatic Brennan always carry an undercurrent of suspicion and intrigue, and his connection to the wider power struggles in Port Charles could become highly relevant. As the week progresses, the citizens of Port Charles will find themselves bracing for a devastating twist. The titled Baptism Begins is profoundly apt. The characters are being plunged into a trial by fire that will redefine alliances, shatter reputations, and forever alter the landscape of the city. Encouraging words from family members will be whispered against a backdrop of angry threats from powerful, unseen enemies. The week of November 17th to 21st is not just another week in Port Charles, it is a pivot point. A Professor Hubris has set in motion a chain of events that a ruthless businessman is all too willing to exploit for his own gain. A mayor's love for her family has become her greatest political vulnerability. And the courageous acts of teenagers may not be enough to stop a premeditated murder disguised as a tragic accident. As the sweeps period drama unfolds, fans must prepare for shocking moments, heartbreaking sacrifices, and the terrifying rise of #Team Sidwell, whose victory would plunge Port Charles into a new era of darkness. The baptism is beginning, and the waters are churning with danger.